In the previous videos, we examined the features of a human civilization and looked at how the geographical conditions of various places will affect the development of different civilizations. In this video, we are going to shift our attention to look at the development of two early ancient Greek civilizations. They were the Minoan and Mycenaean civilizations. The Minoan civilization began on the island of Crete, whereas the Mycenaean civilization began at the Peloponnese region located on the Greek peninsula. These two civilizations developed during the Bronze Age of ancient Greece. Now, having learned about some basic information concerning the Minoan and Mycenaean civilizations, we will take a closer look at the development of the Minoan civilizations. As we have said just now, the Minoan civilization began on the island of Crete. So, where is the island located? Crete is an island in the Mediterranean Sea, and it is also the largest island in Greece. The island was the home to the Minoan civilization, and if we travel further south from this island, we will be able to reach Africa. You can learn from this map that the island of Crete, which is located in the Mediterranean Sea, was close to Africa. You can definitely tell from this map that the island was located only a few hundred miles away from the mouth of the Nile River. So by far, we have learned that the Minoan civilization developed on the island of Crete, and this civilization developed on the island of Crete at about 3000 BC to 1400 BC. Now, if you can still recall what we have learned from the previous videos, you must be able to recall that towards the end of the last video, you are invited to check up the lengths of the rivers flowing in Greece and Italy. Now, why are you invited to check up the lengths of these rivers? It is because when you read our textbook, you would be able to find that the maps in our textbook does not show the rivers flowing in Greece and Italy. By checking up the length of these rivers, you might be able to tell why the authors of our textbook chose not to show the rivers flowing in Greece and Italy. Now, after you check up the lengths of the rivers flowing in Greece and Italy and compare these lengths with the lengths of the rivers flowing in Egypt, Mesopotamia, India, and China, you should be able to tell that the ancient Greece and the ancient Romans would find it difficult to depend entirely on the local rivers to maintain their survival. Now, since that they were not able to depend entirely on the local rivers for survival, they had to go elsewhere to obtain the necessary materials that they would need. Now, the same problem was encountered by the Minoans. Luckily, the island of Crete was located in the Mediterranean and was surrounded by the sea, and the Minoans were also good sailors. Therefore, they could sail and trade throughout the Aegean Sea to buy the materials which they need so badly. At the same time, they might also set up colonies on the islands in the Aegean region. Now, so we have already learned something about the information concerning the Minoan civilization. And you may ask, how come we would know something about the Minoan civilization that was developed maybe 5,000 years ago? Now, in this area, we really have to thank the archaeologists for their hard work, because their archaeological discoveries would enable us to tell something about the lives of the early Minoans. Now, in this picture, you can definitely see the palace appearing, or see the palace located at Knossos, which was unearthed by the archaeologists. Now, since that it was a palace, therefore it must be the home of the Minoan royal families. From the work of the archaeologists at the Palace of Knossos, we would be able to tell that, well, King Minos was once the master of this palace. And then the Minoan civilization was named after King Minos, and so it was called the Minoan civilizations. And the city of Knossos was the capital city of the Minoan civilization. And when we look at the surroundings of the palace, we can find that no defensive walls were built around the palace. Now, so the historians and the archaeologists believed that this would reflect the Minoans' confidence in defending themselves against the invasion of the foreigners. Now, here is the site of the palace of Knossos and the surrounding areas of the palace. Now, this is the reconstruction of the palace of Knossos and its surroundings. So, what can we learn about from the archaeological discoveries made by the archaeologists? Now, from the remains unearthed at the palace of Knossos, we discovered a system of written language from these remains. However, it is unfortunate that the historians were not able to decipher the writing of the Minoans. Therefore, we were not able to tell or to learn something more about the Minoan civilization by studying their written record. So we can only depend entirely on the historical relics as well as the frescoes found in the palace for information about the Minoan civilization. The frescoes were the wall paintings which could be found in the Palace of Knossos, which provides us with some information concerning the Minoan life. Here is one of the frescoes which shows a popular spot in the Minoan civilization, which is bull lipping. And then this is another fresco which you can definitely see inside the Palace of Knossos. Another fresco. So from these frescoes, we would be able to tell how important the sea was to the Minoans. You can see that they can get fish from the sea. And then we would also be able to conclude that women had high status in the early Minoan societies, and then the Minoans also enjoyed sport events as well as nature. Now, here are some of the other discoveries made at the Palace of Knossos. We can be able to see, to learn from these slides that while the archaeologists unearth some religious figurine, and then we also take notes of some Minoan figures. And here is another frescoes appearing in the Palace of Knossos, and we may be able to tell some similarities between the Minoan fresco and the fresco appearing in Egypt. Now, here are some other discoveries made by the archaeologists. You can find some metal objects unearthed at the Palace of Knossos, and here are the pictures of the pottery that the archaeologists could find at the Palace of Knossos. Now, even though the Minoans had built up a fantastic civilization, this civilization still had to come to an end. Usually, we would say that by about 1400 BC, the Minoan civilization came to an end, although some people would say that the civilization ended about 1200 BC. Now, archaeologists or even historians are not quite sure about the reasons leading to the collapse of the civilization, but they managed to put forth a number of theories, like for example, a volcanic eruption on a nearby island had also caused damage to the Minoan civilizations, and then they also brought up another some archaeologists also brought up another theory that the civilization was actually destroyed by the tidal wave caused by an earthquake. And certainly, foreign invasion was also regarded by the archaeologists or even historians as one of the factors bring about the destruction of this civilization, and the foreign invaders were actually the Mycenaeans. Now, other than looking at the discoveries at the archaeological sites, we can be able to tell the development of some early civilizations by looking at the literature. Now, if you can still recall what we have talked about, the treasures of the ancient Greek and Roman civilizations, you must still be able to recall that the Greek poems, fables, and myths are still inspiring writers today. Actually, these masterpieces are not only inspiring writers, they might also inspire historians, so that we would be able to learn something about the early civilizations by analyzing these writings, these ancient writings. Now, therefore, here we would like to introduce to you a myth concerning the Minoan civilizations, which is Theseus and the Minotaur. Now, certainly the story will have different versions. And this is just one of the versions which I can find on the internet. So basically, the story goes like this: once upon a time, and a long time ago, there lived a king named Minos, and he lives on the island of Crete, and he had a powerful navy, a beautiful daughter, and a really big palace. That is the palace of Knossos, which you can learn from the other slide just now. And now and then, King Minos finds that he was bored, and therefore he would like to send his navy to attack Athens in order to make himself happy. Certainly, the Athenians were tired of the invasions launched by King Minos. Therefore, the Athenians tried to reach an agreement with the king, and then the Athenian kings offered to King Minos a deal. The deal said that, the city of Athens would send 7 Athenian boys and 7 Athenian girls to Crete every 9 years for the consumption of the hybrid monster Minotaur. Now, this hybrid monster, the Minotaur, was a horrible monster that lived in the center of a huge maze on the island of Crete. King Minos, according to this version, loved that old monster. He did like to give his monster a treat to eat now and then. King Minos knew his people would prefer he fed his monster with Athenian children. and because his people would certainly hope that the king would not send their children to the monsters. So King Minos believed that, well, the deal put forward by the Athenian king was a good deal. So it was about time for the Athenians to send 7 boys and 7 girls to Crete to be eaten by the Minotaur again. Everyone in Athens was certainly unhappy, and they were crying. And Prince Theseus of Athens was very young at that time. Maybe he was a teenager. Still, he knew that it was wrong to send small children to be eaten up by a monster, just to avoid a battle with King Minos. Therefore, Prince Theseus told his father that he would like to go to the island of Crete as the seventh son of Athens, and he planned to kill the Minotaur and end this terror. Now, you can be able to find that some sentences in this piece of slide was turned into red. Okay, I'm not going to explain to you why these several lines were turned into red. We will explain this again later. Well, when Prince Theseus told his father that he would like to go to the island of Crete, his father would certainly disagree. His father was King Aegeus. King Aegeus replied, "The Minotaur is a terrible monster. What makes you think that you can kill the monster?" Prince Theseus was very confident. He said that, "Well, I will find a way, and the gods will also help me." So, even though King Aegeus begged Prince Theseus not to go because he was afraid that his son would be eaten up by the monster, but the prince was so determined. So Theseus took his place as the 7th Athenian boy, and along with the other 6 boys and 7 girls, Prince Theseus sailed towards the island of Crete. Okay, when the prince and the children arrived at the island of Crete, King Minos and his daughter, the Princess Ariadne, came out to greet them. The king told them that they would not be eaten until the next day, and so they could feel free to enjoy themselves in the palace in the meantime. The Princess Ariadne did not say anything, and later that night she wrote Prince Theseus a note and slipped it through his bedroom door. Now, the note read like this. Well, the princess introduced herself to the prince, and she confessed that she was a very bored princess, but she said to the prince that, well, without her help, the Minotaur would certainly be able to kill Prince Theseus and his companions. Therefore, she should suggest to the prince that, well, they should meet later that night in order to let the prince know her plan to help the prince to kill the monster Minotaur. Well, receiving a letter, Prince Theseus slipped out of the palace and waited patiently by the gate for Princess Ariadne. Princess Ariadne did show up, and in her hands she carried a sword and a ball of string. Ariadne gave the sword and the ball of string to Prince Theseus. And the princess said to Prince Theseus, Hide this inside the entrance to the maze. Tomorrow, when you and children from Athens enter the labyrinth, wait until the gate is closed. Then tie the string to the door. Unroll it as you move through the maze. That way you can find your way back again. The sword, well, you know what to do with it. Well, Prince Theseus was very happy, and he expressed his thanks to the princess. But the princess agreed to help him on one condition. The princess wanted Prince Theseus to marry with him. The next morning, all the Athenian children, including Prince Theseus, were brought into the maze. The door was locked firmly behind them. Following Ariadne's direction, Theseus tied one end of the string to the door. He told the children to stay by the door. Their job was to make sure that the string stayed tied so that Theseus could find his way back to save them. Theseus then entered the maze alone. It took him a while before he could finally find his way to the center. Using the sword Ariadne had given him, Theseus was able to kill the monster, and he followed the string back and knocked on the door. Princess Ariadne was waiting for the prince there, and she opened the door without anyone noticing. Prince Theseus and the children of Athens ran to their ships and sailed quietly away. Princess Ariadne sailed away with them. On their way home, they stopped for supplies on the tiny island of Naxos. Princess Ariadne fell asleep. Many people gathered to watch the sleeping princess and believed that she was a beautiful girl. All the people also agreed to this assessment. Theseus sailed away with the children of Athens, and left her behind sleeping. So we can be able to tell that Prince Theseus did not live up to his promise to marry with Princess Ariadne. We have already taken a look at the myth concerning Prince Theseus and the monster Minotaur. And actually, from this myth, we would be able to tell something about the development of the Minoan civilization. Now, we have prepared a worksheet to invite you to think about what we can possibly learn from this myth about the early Minoan civilization. Let's complete the worksheet. Thank you very much. In the next video, we are going to look at the development of the Mycenaean civilization. So, goodbye for now.